Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
Keep up with people and their grandparents.
Were you slashing yesterday at church?
Yeah, he had a real.
It was good.
It was really good.
There were some good songs, some good guitar parts in there, so I was digging it.
Yeah.
I mean, worship and some cool guitar riffs, like this is the best thing ever.
It is.
What are y'all pulling together for Tebow, bro?
I don't know yet. I haven't heard. I'm excited though. I'm ready.
He kind of lobbed about 10 songs up to me for the Tebow event. They were all phenomenal, and he says, but we got to cut it down to about 6. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure what's going to make the cut and what's not. I think a lot of it has to do with the video that we're going to have.
Yep.
With the testimonies from all the people. So
that's going to be good too.
So we'll
real tearjerker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good at creating those.
Well, it's the people. Their stories, I mean, they're real and people can relate to it. So when they see and hear what these guys went through and how they came through it and how their spouses stuck with them, I mean, it's real stuff, man. It's good.
Isn't it amazing what when you share the word and it comes out, it never fails?
Mm.
Sometimes it doesn't fail. It doesn't come back void.
It never comes back void. But sometimes when we share the word or share our testimony, which no one can ever deny our testimony, and so many times the right person hears it. We started talking like we always do, which was most people know these first 5 or 6 minutes were full of crap and
bring it, Michael.
Bring it, Michael. What's the joke today?
It's not a joke. It's just, I'm finally at the age where I don't know if this is normally how I walk or if I'm in pain all the time. I can't figure out.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Recovery time stinks, man.
Oh my! And then I've been gone, sleeping on a hotel bed, getting out of a hotel bed and trying to function. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Last weekend we went to 2 different graduation receptions.
Oh, that was painful.
You're
celebrating. Get it. I get it.
No, they were all church people there. So they were all our friends from church were there. But the funny thing was, all the guys, like you can tell when you reach late 40s, early 50s, because all they're talking about is smoking brisket and like how they did it. Like Daryl talked for like 10 minutes about, I go fat side up and then I wrapped it in the paper and I put brown sugar on there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like,
yeah, you did that. No.
Oh yeah, you do that too.
No, I don't anymore.
But I mean, like
I gave my smoker away to somebody. I gave a $1,800 smoker away to somebody.
I would have taken.
I love great barbecue. I do not like making great barbecue.
But it's just a funny progression because in your 20s and 30s, no 20, 30-year-olds talking about smoking meat at 4 in the morning.
No.
And putting brown sugar on there and all this stuff.
But
all the guys in their 50s, in their 50s, everybody's talking about what hurts, what procedure they need to get done.
And I know Daryl.
Oh, yeah.
He's a process guy.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh, man, I can see 225 the whole, and never went to 226 and never went down to 224, and that's where I get anxiety.
Well, about 4 minutes into his description, I started shooting video of him, and he didn't know us. He's all like, and you put the brown sugar on there, and you do this, and blah blah blah.
Oh.
And I'm panning around the room, and
Put it right
David
now. Put it in right now.
Yeah, it's funny. And then all of a sudden he looks at me and he's like, "You're gonna use this to make fun of me, aren't you?" I'm like,
Yep.
"No,
no way,
no way, Daryl." But it was fun. It was good hanging out with church folk and celebrating their seniors, graduations, and everything.
I wish I could have gotten back in town in time for that one.
Yeah,
but that was a great afternoon. I heard.
Tis the season though, because a lot of these people, they were going to others after that. Like they were making the rounds. Like, I'm only here for an hour because I got to go to 2 more of these things, and then they had a 4-hour graduation on Friday night. And I was like, man.
Well, it does look different today, and that voice just came out. And first off, France. Jeremy Sheffy, the man, the myth, the legend, he is in Pittsburgh, up taking care of some things from a personal level, and we're praying for him. And we have a great friend joining us today, and she has the privilege of being the first lady to ever join the Cussin Christians. Oh my gosh.
Very
Michele
exciting.
Assad is here. Thank you so much.
Yep. And Joseph's better half for sure.
If y'all remember, it was a couple of months ago we had Joseph on board with us, and he was with us on Grace for Man, and then this one he also spoke at a men's breakfast for us about Israel and his history growing up in the Middle East. And we knew we had the brains that had to come on behind him and to clarify. Michele, we're just so happy you're joining us. We're coming upon our big event, Father's Day weekend. We have a men's breakfast as well. We have the Tim Tebow experience and a men's breakfast, and of course Father's Day, where we're really reflecting on the role of the biblical man in the home for being a parent, being a husband, and then it just trickles down from there to the community leader and whatnot, and how the biblical man has kind of been diluted in our culture, society, through our government and all these other things. And you and I have talked about this before, and she's nodding. I can tell she's getting ready to go. But if you don't know Michele or Joseph, we want you've got to check out, first off, their story. You can Google them, see their story about how they rescued Christians from Iraq from persecution. Their time in the CIA together, and Michele's amazing book, Breaking Cover, which she calls My Secret Life in the CIA, what it taught me about what's worth fighting for. So I know Brad's going to zoom in on that. Welcome. I am so glad you're here and joining us, and we're just gonna throw it up there and see where we go. So
Kind of a potluck.
nah, not a potluck, but how are you? You're writing your new book. Where are you right now, and what's going on?
Oh, well, yes, working on book number 2, which is not easy. It's quite a project. But what's really important here, I think, is it's not because I wanted to write this book or the next book, but it was a calling.
Yeah.
So when you're called, you got to persevere. You got to do it.
Well, we talked about that at a podcast about 2 months ago, and I just found it fascinating because you feel it yearning in your heart, and it outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this the other night, and when you feel that calling and you know it's not in your wheelhouse, and but you feel the Lord saying, do it. I felt it a couple of years ago when he said, hey, get this event together, and I did. I mean, walk through that mindset or in that thought process. Did the idea from the book come during your years in the CIA, or was it after you got out?
Actually, I was still in the CIA, but at the very end of that 10-year career, my father-in-law had just passed away in Egypt. He was an amazing man of God. So it really was a very difficult development for us. And I remember grieving. Y'all have those moments. Thankfully, they're not very often, but they're really like heart-rending. Like you literally are sitting somewhere just saying, why? This is so hard. So in the middle of this grieving, in this real difficult emotional moment, I heard the words, literally, time to write your book. And I was like,
get out.
What book would that be? What you talking about? And he's like, he repeated it. The Holy Spirit repeated it. It's time to write your book. And I said, I'm a little bit confused. I don't know how to write a book.
Yeah.
I never wanted to write a book. I still don't want to write a book. And I asked God, why me? Why would you choose someone who has no skills to do this? And I heard the words, and it was so profound. Because you've been an open vessel and you let me shape you.
Wow.
I was like, whoa.
That's awesome.
So I think that God calls the open vessels. I mean, a lot of times people think God calls people who are so skilled and so ready to be used. I think it's kind of the opposite.
Isn't it interesting, though? Because I think all of us have felt that calling at some point where God asked us to do something that was out of our wheelhouse that we wouldn't normally do. And so there's an excitement because it's like, well, I know God's calling me to do this, but that doesn't mean it's easy. There's still perseverance, and there's still doubt, and there's still, overcoming in the process.
Like every day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
But I think we all have stories, right? Where
Yeah.
God has called us to do something that normally we wouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't an open vessel, and if we weren't committed to Christ, like what would our lives look like? Like would we ever really get out of our comfort zone, or would
Never.
we just,
Never would. Yeah. Comfort zone is toasty and nice and warm.
And you had to be careful with what you shared as well, right?
Yeah, then there's that whole thing because I was still in the agency. So I actually started writing this book in faith that the CIA would let me drop cover. That's not a small thing.
No.
But I was like, well, if the Lord's called me, I knew in my heart that I wasn't called to write in a pseudonym. And I wasn't called to write like a fiction book. It had to be in my own name, and it had to be my own stories. I wrote in faith.
Wow.
That's cool.
For those that don't know y'all's story, what was your role in the CIA?
So Joseph and I were in the part of the CIA that is, we're the intelligence collectors. So we were out in the field. So for us, that was the Arab world primarily. Recruiting sources, handling sources, collecting the intelligence, packaging it, vetting it, packaging it, and then starting the cycle again. So, yeah, so for 10 years, we had 5 overseas tours. And then, since leaving the CIA, we now have our own company.
Your own intelligence type and safety type company. That's awesome.
What did you tell people that you did for a living? How did you, I mean...
You get the award, Michael, because that's the key. That's the question I can't answer.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the one that gets the award
You
today.
get the button today. She's always waiting for that one question.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question. When you're recruiting sources, are these people that the CIA said you need to like get into their lives and know them and get information from them? How did you get into that? I mean, without being suspicious.
Sure. So sometimes you would come across someone because you kind of generally know who's of interest to the U.S. government because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Also, you have collection requirements and priorities that the U.S. government sends to you. And then you always say, like, I ran across this person. Is this person of interest? And then the CIA decides yes or no. Or sometimes the CIA will say, hey, there's a guy over there that has really critical intel, and how do we get to that person? And then you strategically try to figure out some way to make that happen.
Was it harder for you as a woman in an Arab country?
Oh gosh.
Because you didn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Not at all. I mean, I just blend.
Yeah, your fair complexion and
I do not blend, and so yes, it is very hard. So it was like 10 years of living in very difficult places, and not even like like places like Egypt where they're really used to foreigners. We were in really rough, tough places, so that was hard.
I bet it was.
Well,
I'm sorry, because I'm going to forget that. That's kind of the question I asked Joseph the other night, and you kind of expounded on it a little bit this morning. Go ahead and finish what you...
No, you go for it. Your voice is sexier than mine.
I asked him, and he kind of looked at me, and it wasn't about, struggles in your marriage, but it was about struggles in your marriage, being in the CIA, and, that role had to be stressful and tension, and you guys, I know, and you said something.
Oh my goodness. So it answers both your questions. What is the thing you learned mostly, and then
about your faith,
your faith, and then your question, perseverance.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. If I had to just say like the lesson of my life and the lesson from God and the lesson of faith, but the lesson of family is perseverance. Like if you go into life thinking that things are going to be easy, forget it. Just give up now. Nothing is easy. Marriage isn't easy. Work isn't easy. Life isn't easy. And I fear that our younger generation is not understanding that obstacles are always going to be there. It's how you meet them. So I think a lot of people are just giving up.
Yeah.
There's so much giving up going on right now, giving up on family, giving up on faith. And if I could just say like the word for life right now, it really is perseverance, pushing through. There was so much divorce in the military and the CIA and the State Department. And, we were just surrounded. It's a really tough lifestyle because it's not a job. It's a lifestyle. It's your whole life. It's everything that you do. And we were in pressure cookers all over the world, and there was a lot of danger, a lot of difficulty. And so, that wears on a marriage. So 10 years of that was certainly difficult. But you have to say, do I make decisions based on my feelings and emotions? Or do I persevere knowing that things are going to be tough and you have to work through them?
did you ever rehearse the idea that it's going to be hard? Like we're going to hit a wall at some point. What am I going to do? No, because I've got a 17-year-old at home, and I try to do that with him. I try to say, look, dude, like if you work someplace, your boss might be a jerk to you. Like anticipate that happening and how you're going to react to
Ooh,
it.
I like it.
I don't know if that would be a helpful tactic, but like you said, for our younger generation,
That should be part of the CIA training. Is you're going to come up against this
rehearse
as a
it,
couple,
rehearse it.
and how are you going to persevere?
Yeah,
through
and
it?
say, okay, this is something bad's going to happen. How am I going to react?
Well, actually, we are trained that, but we're trained that for our operations.
All right.
So we call
Right.
this like anticipating Murphy. This is good. I like this
Anticipating
point.
Murphy.
Yeah, like when you're planning an operation, you might plan for several weeks what might take place in an hour. And you go through this planning process where you think of all the things that could go south. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then you go, okay, if this happens, then this is how I'm going to respond. If that happens, that's how I'm going to respond. So you've already like pre-thought through like all the bad stuff. So when things do go south, as they always do,
Yeah.
you have the best possible reaction.
But that's from a secular point of view, how to plan for it. But you as believers had something more than most people do in the world when it comes to planning. You were in the palm of God's hand constantly.
And do you believe that though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We say it a lot.
Yeah, and isn't that the role of the Holy Spirit to help us? Like He quickens us in those moments. There's so many moments I look back on, and I'm like, I don't know how I got through that. Well, I do, but it's like if I would never want to go back and repeat that. But I recognize in that moment the Holy Spirit got me through it.
It's almost like you hear, just hold on.
Yeah.
Just hold on. How did you get through it? You just held on
Yeah.
for dear life.
Right. Sometimes just passing the time until the next day can get
Honestly.
you through it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't imagine. I thought, every marriage has its stresses, but you put yourself in a foreign country in a hostile land with all these different languages and different customs, beliefs, things that happen here in our country, people could get executed for in another country and all that kind of stuff. And our youth don't grasp that.
No.
They don't grasp that.
No, you
And
have to
I know
travel
we talked-
abroad to
they don't
realize that.
They, I see them complaining. I see them, working through all these hot topic cultural things, and it's about my feelings and this. Okay, go over there and say that in Afghanistan or wherever. Let's see how far that gets
Iran,
you. Are they going to give you a microphone to say that there? Probably not.
Guess what? There's no Bill of Rights. There are a couple of feminist women, a couple of them which were Kurdish or Iranian, who just lost their lives because they tried to
Speak up.
on a podcast, and,
Wow.
and they're no longer with us. Like it's very real.
Who was your? I know Joseph and you probably went to each other for strength, but did you have anyone in? No, you didn't, did you?
It was us, like just the two of us,
Right.
surviving.
That had to be tough.
It was so hard, you guys. A lot of this was like pre-social media, pre-devices. So it's not like you could just pick up Zoom or pick up your Facebook and call someone, talk to someone. No. We didn't have that. We only had each other. This was where you had to have a physical book. You didn't even have like a reader. Like you're on the edge of the earth. It took you 36 hours to get there. There's no quick getting out. You're trapped together, and that's all you have because you have, unfortunately, we had really terrible bosses. We had really toxic work environments in most of the places we were. So you have that toxic internal environment, and then you leave the office and you have a very toxic external environment. There was no place to get away from it.
You mentioned a minute ago, and I was at a meeting a week ago with our veterans group, and they were talking about for the in the last 10 or 15 years is the Desert Storm type, Middle Eastern type wars we've been in. The divorce rate of our soldiers is like almost 2/3.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
And that blows my mind that, being separated is one thing for a long period of time and something happens and they divorce. But then when the guys come back, they can't relate back to society and civilian life at all. I mean, some of them even said, I walk into my house with my parents and I try to explain how I'm feeling and I'm done. And their words are, hey, you want your hamburger medium rare or medium, bro?
Yeah,
that type of
which
thing.
salad dressing would you prefer?
Yeah, what salad dressing? Oh, Mom worked for hours on this meal.
I will meet people who had a family member in the military or the C.I.A. or who knows, 3-letter word. And I say, oh, wow, okay, so they served in a war zone? Yes, they were in Afghanistan or they were in Iraq. And then I go, where in Iraq? They have no idea.
Yeah.
They never bothered to have a
to
conversation with this person who is out risking their lives for a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it is. Ask them to tell you the stories, and don't even say like, oh, it's all classified. It's not.
No.
Rarely ever is it so classified you can't talk about where you were. There's only a few people in the world who can say that. Do some internet research. Find out if your family member, your son, your husband, your wife was in Fallujah. What is Fallujah?
Yeah.
What happened in Fallujah?
Right.
Like, people coming back from the field who has PSD, who just risked their lives in the war zone. Learn, ask questions.
Thing they need is to come home and just being isolated and not being able.
They want to
talk
be
about
understood. They want to be. They
Yeah.
want to find a safe place to share that, because I'm telling you, the best way to get that out is by talking about it. And I know sometimes men have a little bit of a hard time.
No way.
I know it's so hard, but I think at the end of the day, that's. I don't know. You guys tell me, your guys, don't you want that?
It changed my life. It changed my life.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sitting there with the veterans the other night, and it's right before Memorial Day. And I'm brilliant. I'm not a soldier. I developed this amazing program for the night, and I was all fired up about getting into it. And then one of them, before we even started with what the quote-unquote brilliant Trey lesson he brought to the party, one of them just said, he mentioned, before we start, I just want to mention these 3 names. And he mentioned these names. And they were brothers that were military and now dead. And I went, wow, I was so involved with Trey trying to be brilliant. I didn't even think about it's Memorial Day this weekend. And every man went around that table, or the 12 of them, every man went around and gave squadrons, helicopters with crew that went down.
So they wanted to tell their
And
stories.
I didn't say a word the whole night. I just sat there with a tear in my eye, taking notes of everything they said, how they get back, and how hard it is just to communicate with their own families.
Oh, yeah.
And that when they get back, the struggles they go through getting their benefits through the VA. It's a crazy how we on the surface pat them. Thanks for all your service to my country, bro.
But don't talk about it.
But don't talk about
Boy.
it. And
I don't want to hear the details.
When you came back from the CIA, what kind of adjustment did you make coming back in and trying to get back into this quote unquote civilian life?
It was so hard.
Was it?
Oh my gosh. And the wonders of travel today, it still blows my mind that I can get on a plane and 15 hours later be in the United States. And you get off that plane and you've just been in the war zone for a year. And your head is spinning because no one's shooting, there's no explosions going on, and really the biggest thing you got to choose is which cereal am I gonna eat for breakfast?
Right.
You can't wrap your head around it, and it just feels weird and wrong. Like, life is so easy here, and nobody knows what the struggle is that you just came from. And I remember we went to go see a movie at the movie theater, and the girl asked me, what, do I want popcorn? And I'm like, I just came from Iraq.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I just came from a war zone. And she looked at me like, I'm like, why did I just tell her that? And then she looked at me like, why did you just tell me that? And like, I don't know. I feel like this is weird.
Yeah.
Your brain can't quite put, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
You just like, wait a minute, I was in Iraq yesterday, today I'm in Orlando.
One of the takeaways from our meeting, we have a gentleman that is a Marine sniper, and he was in Afghanistan. He had some horrific things go down that he had the revelation of Christ there.
Oh.
And
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to get him in here one day to talk. He travels a lot for his job, but at the meeting we're talking, and he said, he mentioned this guy's name, and I'll just say John Smith, and he said he was the 27th person from our peer group to commit suicide just this last week.
Wow.
And then he goes, you think, okay, 27 people in your peer group, took his life, that's sad, but when you think about only 25 of us were killed in action,
That's crazy.
that puts a microscope on the people that serve in these terrible situations, or in hostile areas like you did, or the military guys do, or even the sailors being out at sea for a year at a time, or however long they're out.
So I have a theory about suffering, that We all suffer. We all suffer different types of ways. But for me, this is my theory, like you can only find meaning in suffering if you can turn around and help someone else.
So serving somebody else.
Yeah,
Out of
helps
I
you
totally agree with
Yeah.
that.
crawl out of that hard place and bring some meaning and purpose out of it by encouraging someone else. So I almost wonder if a lot of the folks taking their own lives have not found a way to channel that suffering for good by helping someone else. And then what happens is we get isolated. So social media isolates us, COVID isolates us, and isolation is where you die. That will kill you, that isolation.
Did you feel like you and Joseph kind of had an advantage because you were there together? You experienced it together, but you both probably came back with some form of PTSD. Were you able to help each other get through that, or was it harder because you were both dealing?
No, I think it's better for us.
Yeah.
It was better. Like,
Because you were able to talk through it.
or sometimes you don't even need to talk because you're both in the same boat. Like you're sitting next to each other the whole time.
Yeah.
So you could even it's almost wordless but everything you go through, you've been through together. So there's strength together. There's strength in numbers. If there's anyone listening to this podcast that's in the process of isolating, you have to do everything you can to get out of that isolation, because isolation gets you nowhere. It just digs a deeper, darker pit.
And that's where Satan likes to play.
Yeah.
That's what brought me back to Cav and the breakfast. I was totally isolated. And because of what I could draw on as far as my walk with Christ back in the day, that still small voice was still there. But a lot of people don't have that. They don't have a relationship with Christ. Did you feel a lot of pressure from peers that, that's bullshit. You don't need that, man. You need the U.S. government to get you through this.
We didn't really talk about our faith. We were so busy. We were literally trying to stop the next car bomb from exploding like every hour of the day. And then, not even kidding, like it was like hair on fire every hour.
Really?
Like, I just remember running. You get the intel and you'd run up the steps to get it to the special phone that can call it in to the battle space commander so they can, disassemble that IED before it explodes on the troops that are rolling down the road right now. And, so no, we didn't even have, we weren't sitting around with extra time to discuss anything.
Wow. Let me ask you about your hubby and leaning on him and his faith. What did that look like through those tough times?
Oh, I'm going to get all teary now.
That's why I'm
teary.
the master of making people cry.
Well, I'm so grateful that Joseph is the kind of husband that sees marriage as a partnership. And I think that he was modeling what he saw in his parents' life, which was super counterculture, because he grew up in Egypt. He's Egyptian. Yeah. His parents grew up in an orphanage themselves. It was a Christian orphanage, but his parents were partners. They ended up becoming missionaries to Lebanon. They came back to Egypt. They ran this orphanage for the remainder of their days as partners, side by side. They did everything together. And so I'm so grateful that Joseph went into this marriage having seen that, because not everybody gets that, and sees that we're in this together, we're partners, we're equals, we're here to protect each other, encourage each other. And it just so happens that I'm a woman who needs a lot of encouragement. I'm not one of those women that has natural courage. I just have a lot of fear and intimidation. So God knows that I needed a spouse who was very good at giving that. And I'm so grateful for that. So when I'm like, gosh, God's calling me to write a book, but I'm not smart enough to do that. And he's like, yes, you are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Or, the moments where I'm like, I'm so tired of editing this book. He's like, you can do it.
That's awesome.
Keep going. So I'm grateful.
This is we're coming into June. Father's Day's coming up. Our ministry's really focusing on the biblical father. Your dad's one of the most wonderful men I've ever met. How important was it to you as you're growing up, looking back, connecting dots, that your dad set that spiritual example for you?
I'm so grateful because I recognize there's so many people in the world who don't have that.
Right.
I have a loving father, earthly father, Art Rigby.
Art, the man, the
Rigby.
Shout out to Art.
You know what I can say about my dad? He is the most loving, kind, gentle, encouraging person. Like, he is very verbally encouraging. So you never have to wonder where you stand with my dad. Like, he's making sure you know. Now, you might not have had that growing up. You can still be that.
You can.
True.
You can choose to be the kind of partner, father, brother, whatever. Be prolific with your praise. Be prolific with how you speak about your love and your pride for your family, because it means a lot to them. And there are a lot of women out there that are like me, and they love hearing it.
I had a conversation with our friend Tangi Combs, who is with Love in the Name of Christ, and I asked her kind of the same question about why is it so important, and that your dad or your husband take over that role for the family. And her words to me were, it's very simple. It's foundational.
Ooh.
And I went, whoa, that's a good one. I'm going to take credit for that one day. But I'm giving her credit for it. And I went, after she got through saying it, I just said, mic drop. There's nothing else I can say to that word. But
aren't you modeling Christ when you do that?
oh my gosh.
That's the behavior of our Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
Boy, you saw a stark contrast between the biblical man and those who weren't in the Middle East when you were there. What a contrast, huh?
Yeah, it's a really interesting cultural difference.
Yeah.
I have noticed that I would say the majority, unfortunately, the majority of men, I might get in trouble for saying this, a lot of men in the Middle East feel they need to withhold their affection, especially to sons. Like, they feel that if they say too many good things to them, they're going to spoil them or make them weak. Yeah. It's a very interesting cultural approach to fatherhood, which I disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably been that way for generations.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
So I think as boys, and I'm a good example of this, we're always looking for that fatherly love, that fatherly recognition, whatever it is, throughout our years. And it took my dad until he was 88 to finally call all of his kids and say, I'm sorry for being such a terrible father.
Oh, wow.
And having a relationship with Christ that my mother prayed for years and years and years. And 2 years later, he passed. But he found that. And I wish that, and I'm thankful that as a man that I can just say, okay, I've got it earlier. I don't have to wait to 88.
Yeah.
Okay, I can acknowledge my mistakes and ask for forgiveness and move on with my relationship with the kids. But a lot of guys don't become vulnerable enough to say, man, I screwed up. Will you forgive me? I love you. I'm proud of you. All those things that Christ, his example that we're supposed to live by. But too many men don't want to go there. It's like pride.
Why do you want to starve people of your affection?
I don't get it.
It takes nothing from you to give affection.
None. I had a moment in my life with Garrett that it hit me over the head just like a ton of bricks. But we don't get how much they look at everything we do.
Oof.
Right? They look at everything we do. The daughters look at everything we do as men because they're looking going, I want to marry that man like my dad one day. Or they might say, I do not want a man like my dad one day. But they're watching everything.
Yeah.
And it put it in perspective. My son, we have a great relationship, but he was 8 years old. I'm driving home from taking him to baseball practice, and we're driving home, and he's all happy. It's a Friday. I got a company party that I'm hosting at my house that night, and he just looks at me and says, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. I went, oh, tell me, what is it? And he goes, I'm going to drink Bud Light just like you. And that, it was like, I was all getting, all right, here we go. What is it? Now, they watch everything that we do. And if we're not planting seeds of grace and hope in Christ, they will try to mimic that, or they will try to live up to that in some way.
Yeah, what's that phrase about lessons are caught more than taught? Like your kids catch it because they see you living it
Right.
more than you just, and we do both. We try to tell them, but man, the things that they catch just by your behavior is like, that's the real thing.
That's it. Yeah.
Because they know what's real, and,
Right.
and that's what's going to affect them the most. But going back to something that Michael's talking about, it's never too late to break the cycle. I know some people at church, some guys I played with this weekend who did not have a godly father. They grew up in dysfunctional homes, but they have broken the cycle, and they've done a great job with their kids. And Michael's shown so much humility in humbling yourself and calling your kids and showing like they see the difference. So there's a lot of people out there that didn't have that example growing up, but they have the power to break the cycle.
Yeah.
And to start on a new path. And I've seen it with some of these guys at church, and it's awesome because their kids are amazing. And I know that godly cycle is going to continue now. But before this guy, it was all dysfunction going way back.
Generational shift.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
faith through Christ.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see and to think about.
And it's a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the topic from another angle. If you were going to look at a lady friend and give her the encouragement to let your husband lead spiritually, what words of advice would you give to the women that are listening? Because about 30% of our followers are women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, how important is it to the woman for that man to be stepping up in a spiritual leader role?
I would assume a lot of women are like me, where you're looking for a partner who makes Christ number one. Like, that has to be first. And so maybe women who are kind of do it all, kind of people, get it all done, didn't make it all work. Sometimes they may not realize that they're maybe even drowning out the voice of their partner. And that goes both ways. Like, you don't ever want to drown out the voice of your spouse and the gifts God has given them.
Mm-hmm.
You want to always be lifting each other up in your gifts. And, well, how can I support you in the gifting God has on your life and the leadership that that He's called you to?
You look at the scripture about wives submit to your husbands, that those type of scriptures, but sounds daunting to someone. I did a wedding a couple of years ago, and the mom of the daughter did not want that in there. Mm-hmm. But I had to go to the Greek and say that actual word submit means to lift up.
Ooh,
I
didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, that's one of the, it means to lift up. And, if two come together as one, the cord of three strands, you're lifting each other up. And you just gave the word that, I personally believe that section of Ephesians talks about is that I got to lift him up through grace and through Christ to be the example that Christ set to love your wives. Because, in that little piece of scripture, it talks about the woman submitting to the husband, and so many times the young guys will go, see? And then I go, hold on, dude. The next 9 verses are about you. Right? So get ready. Yeah. And do you love her like Christ loves the church? Well, guess what? If she's able to lift you up in that, you're going to be able to love her like Christ loves the whole church. So
I have a lot of friends with great husbands, but I have a lot of friends with husbands who tear them down.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's lame.
Oh.
I want to encourage my wife to do what she does because there's so many things that she does way better than me. You know that. And so I'm always just like, you go. Like, this is your gift. And I try to encourage her as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because I benefit nothing from trying to be the domineering, you know your place, because you submit to me. I'm like, that's never been part of my mindset. And I think the world wants to twist that. They hear submit and they want to twist it and go, oh, they just want you to be in the kitchen or whatever it is. And that's not it. And I think those of us who are in godly relationships with our spouses would say that's not it at all. And it's, that relationship, when you do it God's way, it's awesome and it's empowering.
Your book, My Secret Life in the C.I.A., What It Taught Me About What's Worth Fighting For. Give me the elevator pitch. What's, based on all these experiences, what's worth fighting for to you?
It's worth fighting. Wow, it refers to so many things in this book.
Just read the book to us right now. No, but
really, persevering. It's worth. You have to persevere to do anything meaningful in life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to basically fall down and get back up and get back up and get back up. Nothing's ever going to be easy. What's worth fighting for is helping other people with that which you've learned. So the last part of this book is how God gave us an opportunity to use this special set of skills that we had in helping persecuted Iraqi Christians who were kicked out of their ancient homeland by ISIS. So it's 10 years of, my gosh, the toxicity, the difficulty, the danger, a very hard career in the CIA, and asking God almost every year of that 10 years, this is really hard. Are you sure you want us here? And I'm not even kidding. 10 years of hard labor and difficulty. And God kept saying, no, it's not time yet. Every year, I'd be like, can we go now? And he's like, no. And I would hear only one thing, no, not yet.
Wow.
For 10 years, no, not yet. But then God said, finally, after 10 years, okay, it's time, you can go. And then God said, I needed you to go through all that difficulty so you could become a counterterrorism expert, a counterintelligence expert, and an operational expert.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, and you can't do that by sitting on a beach in Tahiti drinking mixed drinks.
Right. That's what we're going after this.
Or, sorry, you just can't do it in easy places. So if you're saying, like, my life's been really hard, well, good, congratulations. This is perfect. Yeah. God can use what your experience is in the service of Him via other people, right? And so really this memoir is a book of hope and inspiration. It's not, there's a lot of people who used to work for the CIA that wrote books, and the purpose of the book was I'm so cool, I was in the CIA. Don't you think I'm cool? That is not this book.
No.
Absolutely not. The book is to say the hardest thing you can do is get off the X of your comfort zone. It's a security term that we use in the CIA. And choose to do hard things and persevere through them. And then the book really demonstrates why that's so important. But it has really fun stories, you guys. And you primarily audience of men. I mean, there's all kinds of terrorism and killing and murder and,
Sweet.
Psychology of espionage. Seriously, though, psychology of espionage, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
What it's like to be a female working with
What was
terrorists.
What was the ratio of females to males over there? Just roughly.
Probably about even.
Really?
Even, but
About
there
even,
was
give or take.
a preference back then for men to be in a forward-leaning role and women to be in the role behind them. So that's...
Wow. Amazon.com on the book, right? Get off
Anywhere you
Amazon.
get
Breaking
books.
Cover from Michele Assad. We hope you can come join us for the Tebow Experience June 13th at the King Center. There's still some tickets available in the predominantly in the balcony. Go to kingcenter.com. John Mark Ragsdale and Cav Worship are going to be leading the worship and having a ball, setting the tone for us through the music. So check that out June 13th. And we have a men's breakfast that Church at Vieira is going to be hosting. We're going to be coming alongside. That's on June the 15th, and you can go to churchatviera.com, free, all-you-can-eat bacon, and come out. Jason Shack from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, who has a front row seat to all of our junior high school students and our high school students throughout our county. He's going to bring a lot of perspective about what he sees and our role in those kids in those formidable years when they're teenagers and all the they're bombarded with so much trash, and how we can persevere with them through that. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to keep plugging, but we have our first college campus experience going down with Zach Williams and Tim Tebow at the University of Florida's O'Connell Center, the O-Dome, September 5th. Talking about persevering, we're going to have students from the University of Florida giving their testimony of perseverance through the college years. And then lastly, I don't have the artwork yet. We're going to get it. We just signed up 10th Avenue North for their reunion tour, going to be coming through Melbourne, Florida, September 28th. We're going to be a part of that as well. Check us out on the website, impactministries.org. That's MPACT ministries.org. Also, go to Brad Graber's social media to see his amazing guitar picking that he does on those, and he's my favorite left-handed guitar player.
There you go.
Only one I know. And but in any case, just check us out. Like, share, follow. Get a T-shirt. We'd love to see you. Love for you to be a part of our MPACT Brotherhood Support Network. Just send us an email. We'll get back to you within 24 hours with whatever issue. If you just need prayer, you got an issue you want to talk about, we'll be there for you. Michelle, you're amazing. And we're going to have part 2 because we got some deep stuff to talk about in a future podcast about how we share our faith out in the world today, especially when people are hurting so bad. And sometimes we pick up on it, sometimes we don't. And when we do and the Lord calls us to write a book, we write a book, even though we've never written anything in our lives. So we will do that. So with that said, I'm going to have her be in on this today.
Yeah.
All right, ready? I'm Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Michelle.
Yeah, we are the
Cussin Christians.
I love it.
So that technique you use where you do the contingencies, I subconsciously do that when I drive. If this guy gets in this
Yes.
lane, I'm going to turn over here.
Defensive
this guy's
driving.
Going 35 and
Yep.
50. I'm going to go around him.
You pointed at me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My favorite picture of her, though, that Joseph, she's in the flak jacket kind of thing, and you're holding the AK. I'm like, that's
That's my